parlamentet. Fra en af taberne ved den britiske afstemning til en af vinderne for lidt siden fik vores EU-korrespondent en kommentar fra lederen for UK Independence Party, Nigel Farage. Her er interviewet i sin fulde længde.
Nigel Farage, how surprised are you about the result in the UK?
Surprised, pleasantly. I mean, you know, I've battled for so many years for this. I almost didn't dare to dream that we'd do it. And the level of threat, you know, the IMF, the OECD, President Obama, I mean, the world, telling the British people we couldn't possibly survive outside the EU. And in the end, people said, you know what? We've had enough of this negativity. We believe in Britain. So I'm just delighted.
How sure are you that the Brexit will benefit the UK? You have seen now the pound sterling going down with between 7 and 9% towards the US dollar and towards the euro. And people are talking about you will lose jobs and investments will sort of fall. How sure are you that you will be okay?
So the stock market today closed 3% up. That's 11, nearly 12% up since February, up 12% since February. Sterling has been in a declining market since July 2014. So Brexit has got almost nothing to do with it. And these ridiculous ideas that are being put out about scares, you know, bear no relation to the world. Now look, what we've opted for is to take back control of our own lives, to run our own economy, to take back our fishing waters, and people can give scare stories in the short term, but actually this European Union doesn't work. It's failing. It's out of date. We've freed ourselves up, and you know what? Yesterday, the Prime Ministers of Australia and New Zealand said they're vying to become the first countries to do trade deals with the United Kingdom. I would say a week in, that's pretty good.
So you aren't at least just a little worried that this, you know, will harm the British economy?
Well, do I think Britain will be better off run by a bunch of old men in a building over the road here called the European Commission? No, we can do a better job of it ourselves. Of that, I'm absolutely certain.
Today we heard from Merkel that there will be no access from the UK into the single market without also accepting the free movement of labour. So where does it leave you?
OK, so Mrs Merkel, how does America have access to the single market and sell 200 billion euros worth of goods every year without free movement? How does China have access to the single market and sell 300 billion euros worth of goods every year? These arguments are ridiculous. They're arguments being made by a European political elite who realise that Britain voting to leave could be the end of the game for them. Every country in the world has access to the single market. The question is, what are the terms of that access?
But if the EU leaders are telling you and telling the next Prime Minister of the UK that there will be no access to the single market if you're not following the rules, what will you say then?
I'm sorry. Can we get something established here that is clear? Every country in the world has access to the single market. The only question is, what are the terms of that access? Now, right now, we have tariff-free access to the single market.
And that's the point.
That's the point. And that's why we joined 40 years ago. That's why the common market that Mum and Dad voted for was quite a good idea in a post-war world of very, very high trade barriers. But all of that's gone with globalisation, with GATT, WTO. Those tariffs are now tiny. Right now for us, our costs of membership far exceed any benefit in reduced tariffs.
But can you be sure that you will get access to the single market when you hear that people are now saying, no, this is not going to happen, because if you turn their back to the family, you're not part of the family and you don't get the benefits?
I'm sorry, we're struggling a bit here. I'm going to say this now for the third time. Every single country in the world has access to the single market. The only question is, what are the terms of that access? And for the benefit of tariff-free access, we pay a massive membership fee. We regulate the 88% of our industry that doesn't sell to the European Union, and we have to accept free movement. That is a rotten deal. Now, what pragmatism says, and what I tried to say to the European Parliament this morning, although they weren't really listening, because they're a bit upset at the moment with what's gone on, is that because they sell us more than we sell them, the common sense approach is to have a deal. The common sense approach is to carry on with a tariff-free deal. If we don't, then hundreds of thousands of German car workers might lose their jobs.
So can you describe to me and to the Danish viewers what kind of deal do you foresee?
Well, as I said already, no deal is better than the deal we currently have. But I would like to see a simple free trade deal between Britain and the European Union. South Korea has one. Mexico has one. There are other countries around the world that have them. We want trade. We want cooperation. We want to be good next-door neighbours and friends, but not members of political union.
What future do you see of the EU? If you should describe what you see now would be the future for this
there isn't
European
one. No, there isn't one. It's dead. It's finished. It's all over.
How can you be sure of that?
The European Union's finished. It doesn't work. You know, we just had the honour in Britain of being the first country that rejected membership of it. And, you know, you could be next. It could be Denmark next. It could be Dexit. It could be, I don't know, the Netherlands next. Nexit. It could be Sweden next, which I guess would be Sexit. The other countries are going to have referendums. They're going to reject this. It's a centralised model of government. It's based on the outdated concept of a customs union. It is wholly unsuited to the 21st century global economy.
How sure are you that others will also have referendums and leave the EU?
Well, I'm not sure, but I think it's pretty likely. Just look at the opinion polls. Just look at the attitudes in Northern and Southern Europe towards the European Union, the failure of the euro, Mrs. Merkel's call last year for as many as possible to come into the European Union. You know, at no level does this work. And the key one is we've all finished up inside a political union without any of us ever voting for it.
So what would be your message to the Danish voters right now?
We've had the honour to go first. Follow us. Take back your own independence, take back your own democracy, take back your own fishing waters, take back your own pride and self-respect, and let's work towards a Europe where we work together and trade together and we're friends together and we're close together, but not one of political union.
I have to ask you one last question. Many people are saying that the only one that will actually benefit from this, those are the people that won't do Europe good, like Putin, people that are afraid of a European that stands together. Can't you be fearful of that? Can't you be fearful that if the European Union doesn't stand together, if it disappears, or if it just it's weakened, that we won't be able to struggle against all the challenges we have?
Well, the losers, there are 10,000 people here in Brussels, faceless bureaucrats who earn more than David Cameron, the Prime Minister. They'll lose. The multinationals will lose because they'll face more competition from small and medium-sized businesses. Goldman Sachs will lose, and hurrah to that, many will say. Who's going to win? Well, in my country, ordinary decent people who have seen EU policy cost them jobs, drive down their wages, make it tough for them to get a local appointment with their GP or their kids into local schools. Last Thursday's vote was a victory for the little people, the decent people, against the big battalions of big business and big politics.
Kommentar her fra Nigel Farage.